In this video part, we're going to be looking at some basic measurements and then jacking up the car and disassembling the strut or taking it off the car. Before I start jacking up the car, to demonstrate how much droop I have here with the Ohlins on, I'm just going to measure the static height. It should be right around 13 1/4, so I'm going to go from the bottom of the fender to around the center cap, the middle of the center cap, which is right around 13 1/4 right now. So the wheelie's off the ground. You can tell that this didn't really drop that much, you know, maybe 2 inches. So let's see where this puts me. We were at 13 1/4. We are now at around 14 1/2. So 1 1/4 inches of droop. Given that Ohlins have about 92 millimeters, I want to say, which is 4 inches of travel total in the front. So let's check up the car fully and take a look at the Ohlins setup that I have. So this is what my Ohlins setup looks like. I got ground control, camber plates up top, and this is the Ohlins body. You can see the threads here. I am basically at the very top of adjustment. So I've compressed this spring and I basically preloaded it as much as I could to even get to about 13 1/4 right height. Ideal right height in the front would be about 13 1/2, just so that you're not really impacting roll center and having your control arms at a weird angle, you know, resulting in a subpar handling. So I want to raise it up higher, but again, I wasn't able to do it with the spring that I have here. So I'm gonna start taking things apart. I'm gonna have to take apart this nut right here for the Swaybar. I'm gonna go up top and remove the 3 nuts that are holding the strut to the top. I'm gonna undo the pinch bolt. I'm gonna be removing some of the wires and some of the hoses for the brakes. This guy's a 16 mm for the Swaybar endlink. There we go. So next there are a couple of hoses there that are attached to the strut. I'm going to just go ahead and unclip and remove brake pad sensor. I'm gonna try to remove without breaking. That came out. Disconnected from the bleeder screw. Placing the jack under lower control arm here. And just to support it, because again, everything that's attached to the knuckle on the rotor, the brake caliper, all of the control arms, they're going to separate from the strut and then just tend to want to drop down. The pinch bolt is 18 millimeters. So these are 13s. I can basically remove these right now fully because it is supported by the jack underneath. So I'm going to start lowering the jack. Check on the wires, how this bracket's doing. I don't want to be pulling the wires and the hoses for the brakes too much. So I'm going to lower it enough for the top to actually clear. Okay, so the top can now slide out here. So the strut bottom just slid out here, and the top is right here. My reinforcement plate fell off earlier, but I will show how it's actually used and why you actually need it for an aftermarket plate. So wires and the hose is loose. I mean, this is kind of sitting on the jack, positioned right underneath the caliper. The hoses here are not in tension, which is what I want. So this concludes this part. In the next part or next video, I'm actually going to combine tips, tricks, and some pointers of the entire job. So it might be a little bit longer and maybe less structured because it'll be a lot of random clips put together, but I think they're still helpful for folks to know. And then the video after next one will be the one where we actually will put on the spacer on the strut, see how that looks, what that nets us in terms of height, and then bolt it back up on the car.